This one technique, if implemented, will progress your surfing more than anything else. But let me explain. I was chatting just a couple of days ago to a member at Longboard Sessions to help them with the area of the longboard continuum framework for avoiding traps and altering their practice in this stage of their surfing so they could enjoy some meaningful improvement. This led me to think more deeply about the surfer improvement life cycle, and there's typically two obvious stages that people find themselves in: progression and stagnation. Progression can come easier in the beginner phases, although it still requires consistent work on the right things. The stagnation phase though becomes extremely common as we steer towards maneuvers and riding on the face of the wave, and often we need something to break us out of this phase. It won't just happen. It's not just about working on the next maneuver that you want to master, and at the end of this video you'll understand why. But before we get there, I want to ask you a question. Can you take a guess as to what the primary constraint is as we begin to pop up and ride the face of the wave, where the major maneuvers that we want to practice and master are at our fingertips but just beyond reach? If you want to take a stab at that, then feel free to write them down below. Alrighty, so it's going to be really good and fun to get into this one today. If I draw my little wave here again, so this is our wave. We're going to break the wave down into our thirds, which you may have seen me do before. So we can say, I'll actually just get up a little texture here. So we can say that this is our first third, second third, and third third. So top, middle, and bottom. What we also want to be considering is definitely going to be where we want to be on the board. So if we consider this is our board, and for the context, that was actually pretty good. For the context of today, I'm gonna break it down into the thirds. Of course, if we're on a short board, then we're never gonna be utilizing the nose, so we might look at that a bit differently. But for this one today, we are going to have our thirds of the board, and we're gonna break that down into a 1, 2, 3 as well. Won't shock you too much. We're not actually gonna use the nose to generate any speed, so we can kind of cancel that one out a little bit. Let's say that we've taken off on a wave and we're trying to go down the line. And what we find happening is that a lot of the time we actually get caught not going fast enough for some reason, and we're trying to continue with the wave and keep and match the wave's speed, but we do get caught behind. The wave rushes off without us and we're unable to do anything about that. Let's firstly talk about the thirds of the wave. I'm actually going to use this red texture. A lot of the time what we see with surfers is they get caught down in this bottom third of the wave. Now the reason for this is they'll go to take off on the wave, and because they don't have a quick pop up, and because they might take longer to turn, so they might pop up at the bottom or near the bottom of the wave here. And instead of turning and taking off here and then being able to do an acute sharp turn whilst they're still in that second third, they come down to the bottom, they ride down into the flats, and then it takes quite a while to get across the wave because just as we're learning turns, it does take a longer time to initiate and to engage that rail and for the turn to have an effect of actually bringing us across the wave. So that's one barrier. The other thing, actually I'll keep that there, but the other thing that I would be also making everyone aware of, and we'll speak about this a fair bit today because it's really important, is that as we take off, and then as we go to turn, we actually don't engage enough of the inside rail and we don't actually match the direction that the wave is going. We, in our minds, around that beginner to intermediate stage where we're trying to learn to ride with the wave, we might say, hey, I've turned there, that's good enough, that's really, really good. But we actually still have a downward trajectory on the wave. And because of this, we have a downward trajectory, we get lost in this bottom third of the wave, and the wave continues to crash and leaves us behind a little bit. So first question is, why don't we want to be at the bottom third of the wave? So the bottom third of the wave, it's okay to utilize it at times, especially in our advanced surfing. But for the beginner to intermediate, even as we're progressing past that a little bit, the bottom third can be really, really dangerous because it is where we lose all of our speed. Unless we're engaging a rail effectively for a bottom turn, for example, or we're right in the hook here and actually potentially nose riding or just steaming down the line right underneath where the wave is breaking, we do have to steer clear of the bottom of the wave. That tip in and of itself usually takes people surfing, if they're aware of this and they work on it, from where they're at to improving quite a lot, because all of a sudden they're able to harness the speed of the wave. And if you listen to maybe what we spoke about in the last videos with the takeoff, if we're able to harness speed, that actually is the prerequisite to so much of our future surfing. In saying that, where do we want to be? Ideally, we want to be in the top 2/3 of the wave. The top third of the wave is where we get all of our speed. As we go further on in your surfing progression as well, you'll hear more things like you can't be too high on the wave. Of course, as a beginner surfer, that can come with problems, but the higher that we get on the wave, the more speed we're going to be able to harness, and it just puts us in a really, really good position to keep up with the wave. So if you don't take anything else from this video today, knowing that we need to be high for speed is really, really important. As we get closer, sorry, this is getting a little bit messy here, so I'll just wipe this off for a second. As we actually are closer into the pocket, so further into here, we can actually utilize that middle third. Obviously, the closer we're in the pocket, this is gonna kind of be breaking this area up here. And so we do need to tuck ourselves down into the middle half of the wave essentially. And that is okay. So the more critical we are, the lower we can be and have it not be too much of a problem. But if we were in the middle third all the way out here, or all in the bottom third all the way out here, we're going to have a lot of issues. So that's the first thing that we need to be considering. Now, the second thing that I probably want to cover here is the angle of the board. We do want to make sure that when we're engaging a turn and we're trying to go down the line in that scenario that we said at the start, we want to make sure that we're going right across, so truly across the wave. A lot of the time, this is what we're attempting to do, but as we spoke about, there is that negative trajectory down the wave, which is pushing us down towards the flats. And it gets really, really difficult once we're stuck in this bottom third to get ourselves out of it. So what we want to do ideally is from the takeoff, or if we're trying to gain speed, I want you to pay really, really close attention to where are you on the wave? Are you in the bottom third? We need to try and get higher. Are you actually traversing directly across the wave as well? Or do you have that slight tilt down to the bottom of the wave? If you have that slight tilt down to the bottom of the wave, it is such good practice to put a little bit more weight onto the inside rail. It'll rise you a bit higher, and it'll also get you to track along with the wave's speed, harnessing as much of the wave's speed as it can give you, rather than wiping some of that off by pushing your board facing more towards the beach. Of course, if you lent on the inside rail and you go too high, you can of course run the risk of coming off the back here. So there are some nuances as well as a little bit of common sense with this, that of course we can't go too high on the wave. Often the problem that I'm seeing in this stage of our surfing, that we're getting too low, we've got to correct that, and this is how we're going to do it. Now, once again, I just wanted to take the time to express my thanks and my gratitude for everyone who has signed up for longboard sessions since launch and after last video. As I expressed last week, on top of it being a platform and a community that's entirely focused to get you to experience the pinnacles of your surfing, it's also a massive help to my journey to achieve my goals of being able to do this full time on the platform, and of course always here on YouTube. So once again, I really, really appreciate it. I can't wait to help you guys out more and more. We're just getting started, and we'll see you on the next one.